Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my brothers and sisters. I hope you're well, and I hope I'm making dua that Allah accepts our fasting in the month of Ramadan. Allah blesses us with all the blessings, and inshallah, today being the 23rd of Ramadan, finishing and embarking on the 24th, I also make dua that Allah is enabling us to continue our fasting, inshallah, over the next few days. Brothers and sisters, what a great honor to be here today. Every day is an honor. Allah says in the Quran that there are people amongst His servants who are very ungrateful, and we don't want to be ungrateful at all. Gratitude is part and parcel of who we are. If we're not grateful to Allah, we're not grateful to. If we're not grateful to Allah, then we are not really even. We should not even consider ourselves to be living. But how can you even consider yourself living without showing gratitude to the very source of your life, the essence of your life, the one who gives you life, the one who gives you the air to breathe, the body to enjoy? The entire being of yours is dependent on Allah's mercy, and therefore you must always be grateful for it. I have to say to you that Allah repeatedly reminds human beings how they're ungrateful. Ingratitude of human is one of its greatest folly. Greatest fall for human being would be their ingratitude. Sarah Boniface says, Salamu alaikum salam. Thank you very much, Sarah, for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're being grateful to Allah. Are you being grateful to Allah? When you woke up this morning, what's the first thing you said? What did you say this morning when you woke up after a long night's sleep? Or, you woke up for suhoor and then you went to sleep again. What did you say when you woke up? Did you say, Alhamdulillah, alladhi ahyana ba'dama amatana wa ilayhi an-nushur? Ya Allah, thank you very much for giving me life again after I died. Did you thank Him? Did you thank Him for the abilities to be able to fast and enjoy the blessed nights and days of the month of Ramadan? It is a privilege from Allah. It's an honor from Allah that we are able to fast, an opportunity to train ourselves to become better. Subhanallah, what an opportunity we should never miss. My brothers and sisters, I urge you and recommend to you to be focused on your task and not detract from your focus. And the focus is to thank Allah, be grateful to Him for all the amazing blessings He gives us all. Subhanallah, I cannot be thankful to Allah enough for what I get on a daily basis. The fact that I have a health, the fact that I can listen, I can hear, I can see, I can talk, I can feel, I can perceive, and I can walk, and I can enjoy the ni'mah Allah has given. All of this deserves a big thanks and a gratitude. When you say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, you're not just saying praises be to Allah, you're also saying thanks and praise be to Allah. Both together. Thanks for the life. Thanks for the food, for the air, for the sun, for my life. Thanks for everything that you have given me. And praise because you are the creator, the master, the designer, the controller. You are, without you, there is nothing. That's why you praise Him, and we thank Him on a regular basis. My brothers and sisters, I hope you've thanked and praised Him enough. Of course, there is never enough, because if the entire humanity was to come together, if all the oceans were to be made into ocean ink, full of ink, and if all the trees and the leaves and the plants were cut into pieces and made into pens, wallahi, we could not finish the names and the barakah and the mercy of Allah. The oceans would soon expire, and all the pens would completely disappear. And yet Allah's mercy and Allah's barakah, Allah's ni'mah would not come to an end. That's what we're talking about when we're thanking Allah and showing our gratitude. I pray that you're doing exactly that, my brothers and sisters. I pray you are thanking Him every day. I am so grateful for my family, for my wife, my children, for my parents. My father has passed away. I make dua for him. I'm thankful to Allah for my siblings. I'm thankful to Allah for the honor that He has given me, for the support that I get from you as a community. I'm thankful to Allah for how I can talk to our people, and our people are listening, and they're carefully, attentively analyzing everything that I'm saying. I'm honored, I'm honored, I'm honored. Are you thankful to Allah? Do you thank Him enough? Or do you forget? I don't know whether you forget or you are thankful, but whatever you do, please don't forget. Don't forget to be thankful to Him. Let's invite Sheikh Waddah to be with us. Thank you very much for joining us, Sheikh Waddah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah, my brother. You're right.
Alhamdulillah, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
I like your accent, my beloved brother. Brother.
Brother,
Lovely accent, mashallah. This
you always have
Yemeni,
to pinpoint
this
that part.
Yemeni Scouser accent. Do you speak Arabic with a Scouser accent?
No, the Arabic is Arabic. It doesn't come out as being Scouse.
I
But
think
I
it
know what you
does.
mean. We do have certain people that use the slang.
I
Yeah.
think it does. I think you can hear the Scouser in anyone's mouth, even if they're an Arab or not. Alhamdulillah. You're going to recite Surah Zumar today.
Az-Zumar, inshallah. From ayah, it will be 53. Ayah 53.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Bismillah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل يا عبادي الذين أسرفوا على أنفسهم لا تقنطوا من رحمة الله إن الله يغفر الذنوب جميعا إن الله يغفر الذنوب جميعا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم وأنيبوا إلى ربكم وأسلموا له من قبل أن يأتيكم العذاب ثم لا تنصرون واتبعوا أحسن ما أنزل إليكم من ربكم من قبل أن يأتيكم العذاب بغتة وأنتم لا تشعرون أن تقول نفس يا حسرة على ما فرطت في جنب الله وإن كنت لمن الساخرين أو تقول لو أن الله هداني لكنت من المتقين أو تقول لو أن الله هداني لكنت من المتقين أو تقول حين ترى العذاب لو أن لي كرة فأكون من المحسنين بلى قد جاءتك آياتي فكذبت بها واستكبرت وكنت من الكافرين ويوم القيامة ترى الذين كذبوا على الله وجوههم مسودة أليس في جهنم مثوى للمتكبرين وينجي الله الذين اتقوا بمفازتهم لا يمسهم السوء ولا هم يحزنون الله خالق كل شيء وهو على كل شيء وكيل له مقاليد السماوات والأرض والذين كفروا بآيات الله أولئك هم الخاسرون قل أفغير الله تأمروني أعبد أيها الجاهلون ولقد أوحي إليك وإلى الذين من قبلك لئن أشركت ليحبطن عملك ولتكونن من الخاسرين بل الله فاعبد وكن من الشاكرين وما قدروا الله حق قدره وما قدر الله حق قدره والأرض جميعا قبضته يوم القيامة والسماوات مطويات بيمينه سبحانه وتعالى عما يشركون ونفخ في الصور فصعق من في السماوات ومن في الأرض إلا من شاء الله ثم نفخ فيه أخرى فإذا هم قيام ينظرون وأشرقت الأرض بنور ربها ووضع الكتاب وجيء بالنبيين والشهداء وقضي بينهم بالحق وهم لا يظلمون ووفيت كل نفس ما كسبت وهو أعلم بما يفعلون وسيق الذين كفروا إلى جهنم زمرا حتى إذا جاءوها فتحت أبوابها وقال لهم خزنتها ألم يأتكم رسل منكم يتلون عليكم آيات ربكم وينذرونكم لقاء يومكم هذا قالوا بلى ولكن حقت كلمة العذاب على الكافرين قيل ادخلوا أبواب جهنم خالدين فيها فبئس مثوى المتكبرين وسيق الذين اتقوا ربهم إلى الجنة زمرا حتى إذا جاءوها وفتحت أبوابها وقال لهم خزنتها سلام عليكم طبتم فادخلوها خالدين وقالوا الحمد لله الذي صدقنا وعده وأورثنا الأرض نتبوأ من الجنة حيث نشاء فنعم أجر العاملين وترى الملائكة حافين من حول العرش يسبحون بحمد ربهم وقضي بينهم بالحق وقيل الحمد لله رب العالمين صدق الله العظيم.
The last few verses of Surah Zumar are my favorite. وقيل الحمد لله رب العالمين وسيق الذين اتقوا ربهم إلى الجنة زمرا حتى إذا جاءوها وفتحت أبوابها وقال لهم خزنتها ألم يأتكم رسل منكم يتلون عليكم آيات ربكم وينذرون لقاءكم يومكم هذا. Have I got it right? Have I
ينذركم لقاء يومكم هذا.
قالوا بلى ولكن حقت كلمة العذاب على الكافرين. Allah will say, didn't a warner didn't we send you a warning? Didn't a warner come to you of a prophet who will remind you about Allah? And then they say, yes, it is true, they came, but we ignored that warning. Oof. Very beautiful surah.
Subhanallah, the word wasiqa as well, when you look at it in the Arabic language, it's like it's used, you know, when you've got a herd of animals, and you're pushing them, and you're pushing them towards wherever they meant to go. Subhanallah al-Azim, that's the description. Wasiqa alladhina. That's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's like it shows you that we're nothing. In the end, if we don't do anything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has got nothing with us. Only if you come, ma yaf'alu Allahu bi'adabikum in shakartum wa amantum. ما يفعل الله بعذابكم. What can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do if you are شكرتم وآمنتم? If you become grateful and you thank Him, وآمنتم, and you become mu'min, subhanallah. Two simple things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Where did you start the recitation today?
From قل يا عبادي الذين أسرفوا على أنفسهم. It's 30, I think it was 35 ayah. Let me just check.
Trying to find it on my computer here.
Surah Zumar.
No, not 35. Sure.
It's 53. Sorry, 53.
Right. No problem. I'm looking through it, so I'm going to find it, inshallah. Brothers and sisters, that was Sheikh Waddah, the Imam of the Masjid, mashallah. Young man he is indeed, but he is, mashallah, with us and has been there for a long time. Are you going to your mum's house for iftar, or are you going somewhere?
I'm just going for a walk before iftar, inshallah, a little walk, inshallah. And
Good.
then we'll go back into my own, inshallah, today.
Good. Good luck with that. Inshallah, see you tomorrow.
Alhamdulillah, mashallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Sheikh Waddah. What a beautiful recitation indeed. Alhamdulillah. We have already got Ron with us. He is going to just give us a few more minutes, inshallah, and then we will start with our story of Abdullah Quilliam. But let me just give you the last few verses translation. Allah says here, let me just see. There you go. This is from verses 71 onwards. Surah 39, verse 71 onwards. And those who are bent on denying the truth will be urged on in throngs towards hell till when they reach it. Its gate will be opened, and its keepers will ask, have there not come to you a messenger from amongst yourselves who conveyed to you your sustainer''s message and warned you of this terrible day of judgment? They will answer, yeah, indeed, but the sentence of suffering will already have fallen due upon the deniers of the truth. They will be told, enter the gates of hell therein and abide. And how vile an abode for those who are given to false pride. But those who were conscious of their sustainer will be urged in throngs towards paradise till they will reach it. The gates shall open, and the keepers will say unto them, peace be upon you. Well have you done. Enter this paradise wherein you abide. And they will exclaim, all praises be to Allah. He has made his promise come true, and he has bestowed upon us his expanse of bliss as our portion, so that we may dwell in paradise as we please. And how excellent a reward will it be for those who labored in God's way. And you will see the angels surrounding the thrones of Almighty Allah, extolling the Sustainer's glory and praise. And judgment will be then passed in justice on all who have lived and died, and the words will be spoken. All praise is due to God, the Sustainer of the worlds. Only the last few verses, very beautiful verses. I'd like you to reflect on this surah, Surah Zumar. And the verse where the Imam began reciting is also a very important verse that I should have translated. It says, قُلْ يَا عِبَادِي, say, O my servant, الَّذِي أَسْرَفُوا, you have transgressed against me, عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ, upon yourself. Despite all that, لَا تَقْنَطُوا مِنْ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ, despair not God's mercy. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ جَمِيعًا, and seek Allah's forgiveness, God's forgiveness, not just alone, but together. إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْغَفُورُ الرَّحِيمُ, he alone is forgiver of all sins, dispenser of grace. So very beautiful. لَا تَقْنَطُوا مِنْ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ, don't ever despair from the mercy of Allah. Don't ever despair the mercy of Allah. Don't. No matter who you are, where you are, what state you are in, the door to the mercy of Allah is always open. Remember that, brothers and sisters. It's always open. We are going to be very happy to have our next guest, none other than Ron. Assalamu alaikum, Ron.
Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan Kareem.
Kareem to you too.
When I last spoke to you, I spoke about some of the rites of passage that Quilliam would perform very publicly in Liverpool and in other parts of Britain. We spoke about funeral processions, and if you remember, I also mentioned that in some of the processions, crowds of up to 600, 700 people would gather who were non-Muslims, and Quilliam would take the opportunity to promote Islam to this ready audience, with the orphan children from the Medina orphanage distributing copies of his weekly newspaper, The Crescent. Quilliam would never miss an opportunity to promote Islam, but he had realized very early on that direct preaching would very often lead to confrontation, and he had adopted a different method. Most important for him was that, and it was a huge challenge, that Islam should not be perceived as something strange and unusual or foreign, something that belonged to an ethnic community, or something which was only practiced by the enemies of Britain, or, as it was perceived in Victorian Britain, something which was opposed to modern civilization. To overcome these challenges, Quilliam would embark upon a particular style or method of promoting Islam in Liverpool. I'm going to begin by reading to you a small account of a picnic which took place. Every summer, a picnic would take place at Raby Mere, near Bromborough in Cheshire. The Muslims would travel together by the newly opened Mersey Metro Railway, which took them under the Mersey. Together they walked, boated, fished, and mused on nature. They played games and competed in sports together. The children went pony riding, and when hungry, they all enjoyed a picnic next to the mill house, consisting of cold beef, pickles and tomatoes, cucumber, preserved pineapples, peaches, pears, strawberries, and cakes of various kinds. They would then return to Liverpool, laden with flowers and fruits that they had picked. The picnic was to become a treasured annual event, along with the Muslim festivals of Eid, the Mawlid, and the high-profile celebration of Christmas, when the Muslim community would feed the city's poor. It couldn't be more English, this description of a picnic, and I'm sure that thousands of Victorian men and women and children would engage in similar activities. But of course, we also know with Quilliam that he did not compromise on the essentials of Islam. And there was no doubt that even though the mosque was in a Georgian building, it was a mosque. Quilliam was not afraid for the muezzin to call the prayer from the small balcony at the top floor of the building, which always seems to me to epitomize this particularly English community of Muslims. A white Georgian building with its square windows and classical door, with pillars on either side like ancient Greece. But from the top balcony, the azan being called. Quilliam would go much further than picnics in his attempts to normalize Muslim life in Britain. Of course, he was aided by his own ability to write in English, producing his newspaper, producing his monthly journal, and his book, Faith in Islam, which at its peak was being printed 20,000 a year. And just as a little side note, Quilliam once sent a copy of that book to Queen Victoria. The Queen would return a note to him saying, "Thank you so much for your informative book on the religion of Islam. Could you send further copies for my children?" These publications would not only be used to promote Islam in the UK, but Quilliam would take every opportunity to assist in other small attempts to introduce Islam to non-Muslim nations. We know that he would send copies of the Crescent and many copies of Faith in Islam to small communities of Muslims in South Africa, the United States, Australia, and Canada. But it's the activities in the mosque which really strike me as showing Quilliam's method. I've described some of these activities in the mosque before. But the 2 days that were really special, it seems to me, were Thursday night and Sunday night. Of course, there were activities taking place in the mosque every day besides prayer. If you'd have gone to the top floor of the building, you would have found laboratories. And those laboratories taught classes every night: photography, chemistry, electricity, gas technology, astronomy, shorthand, construction, French and Oriental languages, and even drawing. These were to allow working class boys and girls of the city of Liverpool to better themselves so that they could find better employment. Quilliam was also aware that many young people in the city were employed as clerks, a growing industry, and clerks indeed had a very difficult situation in life. They were clerical, so therefore they wanted to be of a higher class, but mostly they were employed from lower classes. What these girls and boys found, these young people found, was that there was equality in Quilliam's mosque and social activities, where they could mix freely with the Muslim converts, many of whom were from very high class indeed, including Quilliam. This freedom to mix allowed them to move classes, but also it allowed them to engage in educational activities. Quilliam had founded, for example, a debating society for young people. But let's go back to Thursday and Sunday. Quilliam appointed Thursdays as the mosque's social night, and the community would gather together, getting to know each other, bonding as fellow Muslims with each other. And their activities would be quintessentially English of the Victorian era. Playing board games, chatting, just socializing, but of course without any alcohol. These Thursday nights were no different to any other activity that Victorians engaged in when they socialized. Sundays were very special at the mosque. And interestingly enough, it is on Sundays that almost all of Quilliam's converts stand up and announce to the gathering that they want to become Muslims. What was it about Sundays that enabled people to feel free to affirm that they wanted to accept Islam? It was very English indeed. Quilliam had recognized that there was a certain kind of religious practice that took place in Christianity that was familiar to English people. But he wanted to do it in a way that was Muslim. The people would gather and they would sing hymns And Quilliam had actually stated that hymn singing was such a popular activity in Britain that unless the Muslims of Britain were allowed to sing praises to God, they would never ever be attracted to Islam. Very similar to how in India, the great Muhyiddin Chisti had adopted the Qawwali in order to that Hindus could feel at ease with their longing to sing when they praised God. But Quilliam knew that the hymns that were written by the great English songwriters were not really Islamic in their views with regard to Tawheed. Quilliam rewrote the hymn book, going through every single hymn that the people of the Victorian era almost knew like pop songs, and made them of such, retranslated them, rewrote them, so that, let me just please take that phone off. Sorry for the interruption. He rewrote the hymns so that there was no reference to Trinity, there was no reference to Jesus as Christ or God, and the hymns fulfilled perfectly the ideal of Tawheed in Islam. These hymns were sung with great gusto, not only by the Muslim converts, but also people who had come to, since it was an open night on Sunday, felt at ease with what was taking place. It was after these hymns that Quilliam would give his famed lectures. The lectures were not on Islam, as a preacher would give. They were on so many topics that the Sheikh was knowledgeable on. You might get a lecture on geology. You might get a lecture on Spanish civilization in the medieval era and its multiculturalism. You might get a lecture on Darwin. You might get a lecture on Christian theology, Zoroastrianism, Shinto, Confucianism. The Sheikh would manifest his full range of his extraordinary knowledge, and most of these lectures were written up and printed in the Crescent newspaper. It seems to me that it's interesting that in none of these activities that took place on a Sunday did the Sheikh ever suggest to anyone that what was taking place was in any way intended for someone to become a Muslim. How they were presented is that it's how a Muslim of Britain presented themselves as a knowledgeable, learned person, perfectly normal to the Victorian culture. Perhaps it's not surprising then that it was at these lectures and singing of the praises of God on a Sunday, echoing the Christian day of worship, that most of the converts would stand up and say, we want to accept Islam. I feel that they had watched and observed the Muslim community, seen how close they were with each other, seen their equality, but also had seen what normal, everyday English folk they were. And in fact, we have an account of this Sunday lectures and hymn singing. In a title published under the Crescent, 2 More Converts to Islam in Liverpool, it is written that after a lecture by the Sheikh, 2 men had jumped up and announced their intention to convert. They had both been attending the evening lectures for some time. On being invited to speak to the attendees after repeating the kalima in the mosque, John Pugh described himself as a student of theology for 40 years, who had not been able to come to terms with the insurmountable difficulties of popular forms of Christianity, and who had first learned of the growth of Islam in Britain, surprisingly, in the Tablet, a Roman Catholic newspaper. As a result, he had sought out an interview with the Sheikh, but instead met with Omar Byrne, a convert who had given him a copy of the Faith of Islam. He said he was attracted to Islam by the welcoming kindness that he received from Omar Byrne. The other convert, James Rankin, described himself as a Sunday school teacher who had been invited to train for the clergy. An engineer by profession, he had also slowly become disenchanted with the current condition of Christianity. It's interesting, isn't it, that many of these converts claimed themselves to be practicing Christian rather than atheist. And it seems to me that it was Quilliam's ability to present Islam as the final of the three religions of the Abrahamic tradition that enabled Christians to accept it. And this was an extraordinary achievement indeed. What I would like to do next week, because we've talked so much about Quilliam, and quite rightly so, he was not alone. He had a community around him. And some of the converts were very staunch and active too. So in the next time I come to speak to you, inshallah, we will talk about some of the most prominent converts. So thank you, and walaikum salam.
Thank you very much, Professor Ron. Amazing story again, amazing insight, and you're absolutely spot on when you say it was Quilliam's innate abilities to articulate Islam as a local, as indigenous would accept. Allahu Akbar, what a strength. We have failed in doing that as Muslim community today. In the UK, we have come here, we have imposed our cultural values, not Islamic values, on this people. No wonder we are seeing a backlash. Let's invite Henrietta immediately to join us. Henrietta, are you still here? And we're really sorry, we're slightly delayed. Who doesn't want to listen to Professor Ron Jeeves when he's speaking so well?
I know, you should just keep him and then I can rest for 7:30.
That would be a good thing, isn't it? No, alhamdulillah, we like to listen to you and watch your kitchen. So what is in your kitchen today?
Well, I just received two very exciting cookbooks today. One of them is Palestine on a Plate, and the other one is called Zaytoon by Yasmin Khan. And I know these are not new books, but I just never managed to get them. And I spent the entire morning looking through some recipes. And what I love about these books is these are not just recipe books. These are actually story books, which is what I like about cookbooks, is when people talk about their family and how people live. So this particular Palestine on a Plate, I picked a recipe, I think a really interesting recipe. It's maktul salad, which is a giant couscous, and I put it away already. But it's a giant couscous, pearl couscous it's called, that you cook first, and then you create a lovely salad out of it by adding parsley and tomatoes and cucumber if you want, or and spring onions. And of course, you dress it up with some spices, and I'm intending to put some sumac on it and some just something light spicing. And then I invented a dish because I had some leftover meat from yesterday. It's a really lovely spiced lamb made with some spicy sauce. It's kind of chili-ish sauce. But I made a one dish out of it by adding some cauliflower, some fried aubergine, some broccoli, layered it, and I created a bechamel sauce with a tiny hint of tahini. I think it's really lovely. It doesn't have a heavy tahini or sesame taste, but it lightens up the bechamel sauce a little bit. So it's going to be in the oven. So that's our main dish, and of course we have our drinks and lovely fruit and everything else.
Whoa, you're making me hungry. That's not good, is it?
Well, I just think, when I was reading this recipe book, and I realized that if there is any cuisine that I can probably settle for, which is quite close to, I love all types of food. I love Thai food for particular reasons. I love some Bengali dishes. I love some Indian dishes. But I think if there was any cuisine I could settle for, it would be Middle Eastern cuisine, because it's just really halfway through, very close to my culture. The flavors are not as alien as some Far East dishes, and also that's, for me, it's not sustainable. But the spicing is very gentle, and particularly the Palestinian cooking, it's really it's very simple actually, but very flavorsome, and it's just like the kind of food I like, which is dependent on the good quality ingredients, because that's what you need for good food. That's one of the reasons I'm not able to eat South Asian or Southeast Asian food, is because they're so heavily spiced. Occasionally it's wonderful, but it's on a regular basis, it's so heavily spiced for my palate, that somewhat the vegetables lose their freshness, and their flavor kind of disappears under the spice. And I like my food when I can taste what I'm eating. So I think I was just looking for the recipes, and we'll probably be sorted for the next 7 days of Ramadan. So there are some really lovely, simple but really delicious recipes. I'm quite happy to give a go. So yeah, that's my kind of food part of my today.
Alhamdulillah, wonderful. Because I'm not a very foodie person, I think it's obviously coming from me. Certain dishes can excite me, and certain dishes won't. Yeah, for example, yesterday my daughter said, "Dad, are you starving yourself to death?" I said, "No, I'm not." She goes, "You're not having much suhoor." I said, "That one glass of milk that I had with a couple of dates,
Checking the couscous. I'm listening.
was more than enough, alhamdulillah." So it is wonderful that you are able to entertain us with your wonderful food and all the recipes that you have, alhamdulillah. Let's now entertain our brain with your thoughts too.
Yeah, if you allow me to just to strain the couscous, so I will show you what the couscous looks like. It's essentially quite about 20 minutes of cooking.
Okay.
It's really spiced up, but I'll show you in a minute. It's just looking like couscous in a giant format. So that's what
I know
couscous
this
looks like.
Yes, I'm not very familiar with this couscous. I did this. I ate this when I went to Palestine myself. It was very nice. They served it with just amazing food. What are you going to have it with?
Well, I'm making it with I'm making it into a salad. So there will be tomatoes and cucumber, parsley and spring onion, and a nice light olive oil sumac dressing on it. So that's going to be the side and the salad part, and then of course the meat is going to be in the oven with the cauliflowers.
From my experience, that couscous needs a lot of juicy vegetables and meat to be served with it. On its own in a salad, not 100% sure, but we'll try it later on and see what happens. I think
but you can mix it with the meat that I'm cooking in the oven.
Sounds good. Sounds good idea. Okay, your brain now before we run out of time. Bismillah.
Oh, we always run out of time.
Now, so obviously you go ahead.
Right. So yesterday we talked about the 3 fundamentals of Imam al-Ghazali's alchemy of happiness, and how he gives us an opportunity to think about our knowledge, which is the first pillar. The second fundamental is our state and emotions, and the third is our acts and deeds. So we talked about knowledge a lot for the last probably a week and a half, because I was reading his book about the book of knowledge before. So today I wanted to kind of touch upon something that as I'm reading the book, and it's a very slow read. So whoever is reading it, you will just really need to take 1 page or 2 pages at a time if you really want to enjoy and understand what this giant of a man has produced in this book. And I'm still on the introduction, which is fascinating. So he talks about emotions in the second pillar, which of course everyone is interested in emotions, because this is something that is affecting every single one of us every single minute of the day. Our emotions come and go, and often people ask, how do I work with my emotions instead? How do I run my emotions instead of my emotions running me? And this is a very interesting question always, because emotions, there are 2 kinds of people. There are people who are able to hold their emotions and able to navigate themselves through hard and wonderful emotions, and difficult places and joyful places. And there are people who are completely thrown off by emotions that seems to come from no apparent place. But actually, Imam Ghazali explains very clearly, just like modern psychologists would do, that emotion is a kind of energy that comes and then it goes. And we know this because, particularly in Ramadan, emotions run high, they run deep. But what emotions actually do to us, they come and they seem to affect for the rest of the day. So if you feel something terrible in the morning, we can run our whole day feeling terrible until the evening. So we have lost the entire day for not paying attention to our emotions. So what he says is, it's actually very, very beautiful. He said that every person's emotions are, they come in a context, and there is an opportunity for us to think about these emotions as we go through them. They come from natural sources, meaning they are coming from food, from how our body operates. They come from vital sources, which is it's called nafsani, which is our self-perpetuated, something that comes from our nafs. So these are the emotions like anger, for example. It's one of those things. Or they come from our nervous system or nervousness, and he calls it haywani. And without a shadow of the doubt, he kind of connects it really wonderfully, because he said the heart is the contact between the energy of the body and the energy of the soul. So I think really, he's the man of heart, because he has always been known for his knowledge of heart, and his entire life has been about teaching himself and other people think about purification of the heart, and kind of polishing what we know about ourselves. But he essentially says that, the heart is the place where we connect this vital energy from the body and the energy of the nafs. Meaning the heart is really the core of our character. The heart is the place where we decide what we do with a particular emotion. That is the seat of being 100% connected to ourselves, and therefore we are connected to God. Therefore we can move through these emotions. Now, the emotional state that we go through, of course, it's very important for one particular reason that he mentions, is about in relation to our relationships. And his definition of relationship is three. We have a relationship with our God, we have a relationship with other people, and we must have a relationship with ourselves. Now, this is the thing that most people forget, and I will do this part tomorrow. But our relationship with God and how we connect is, there's a whole system which is called ibadah. This is how we define who we are with God and who is God in our life. Our relationship with other people is the muamalat, is it how we deal with people emotionally, particularly. And our relationship with ourselves is the purification, it's the self-growth, it's the self-development. But this is the one thing that we always leave out. We think we have to fix our relationship with people, we have to fix our relationship with God, which is all true, but we cannot fix them wholesomely or in a kind of organic way unless we fix our relationship with ourselves. And what is that self? How does it manifest? This is essentially the fitrah that Allah has given us when we were born. And it's a huge topic, so I'm not going to go into it. But it's about really understanding that our emotions come from different places.
Before Dr. Imran joins us, so if you want to summarize that, and we can continue tomorrow again.
Yeah, so I will continue tomorrow. It's about going back to our own self so we can fix our relationship with God, and we can fix our relationship with
God. Is an essential part of this conversation. And what I would love to hear from you more is how to nurture fitrah. Because when we were bringing up our two children and homeschooling them, and we're still, of course, teaching them, essential element of our teaching method was how to nurture their fitrah. And how do we nurture fitrah in adults is something that we often fail in recognizing. So if you could kind of give it a thought, how to nurture our children's fitrah and how to nurture the fitrah within the adults, that would be amazing.
Great, I will do that. Okay,
it's fantastic. So see you at iftar, inshallah. And an open invitation to everybody for iftar. Join us if you want. Our digital iftar is open, inshallah. Thank you, Henrietta. See you later. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. That's Henrietta there, ladies and gentlemen. We've been joined by Dr. Imran Dr. Imran, salam alaikum.
Walaikum salam, brother Ajmal. Alhamdulillah, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah.
So in the
I'm glad to
medical
see you
science,
again.
how do you nurture people's fitra? Dr. Imran, I can't hear you.
I think, really. Can you hear me?
If slightly frozen, the internet connection is
Right.
probably not as good as it was last time.
Yeah, probably not. Is it better now?
Slightly better. So I was saying, how do you nurture fitra in your medical world?
Well, I think healthy body and a healthy mind. I think you need to nurture a healthy mind, and you need to. It's very important to have a healthy body to have a healthy mind. So Ramadan is probably the best time to try and develop a healthy body through fasting. So I think if you don't have a healthy body, it actually affects the mental state as well. And having a healthy mental state, I think, is quite essential to develop a healthy fitra. So,
is there any concept of fitra within the medical science, though? I know, I understand healthy body and healthy mind is important, but does medical science or science at large recognize the existence of the natural disposition called fitra?
not that I've not really come across any direct work in which fitra has been looked at in the medical field or its correlationship, apart from the spiritual aspect of it from an Islamic perspective.
But then medical science is incomplete, doctor. I don't mean to be rude. You guys need to be retrained.
Well, it depends on what you mean by fitra. It depends on what sort of meaning you want to give with fitra.
So, for example, you're born with an innate ability to recognize God. God is in your DNA. It's part of your biological makeup. Do you think medical science will have an allergic reaction to such a statement?
Yes, I think so, because I think whilst you're allowed to have your personal opinions, it's got to be, we've got to have quite a neutral environment, and we need to respect patients' beliefs as well. We're allowed to have our own personal beliefs, which is fine. Okay, but I think when we're actually treating patients, it's hard to sort of just focus on one belief system and what how we look at it from one faith. You see what I mean?
I do see what you mean, but I also see how you're trying to avoid the question. All faith would say the same thing, that every human being is born with it. Okay, let me give you an example. And this is not a test for you. It's just me having a conversation. Imagine you're on the plane and you're flying. The pilot says, guys, we have run out of engine. We've run out of fuel, and the nearest airport is too far away. We won't be able to land. So I'm afraid we're going to do a nosedive. We do glide as much as we can, and then it's going to be a nosedive. So do whatever you have to do. Everyone on that plane, what will they do?
Well, it depends on the makeup of the people in the plane, really, isn't it? I mean, whatever God they believe in, if they believe in God, they'll start praying to God. People who don't believe in God, I don't know what they will do.
They'll probably say, if there is anything out there, please save me.
Yeah, they'll probably say, yeah. People who believe in Scientology will probably start looking at ways to control dissent or whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever they believe in, that's going to come out. The natural fitra is going to come out at that state.
So there you go.
But in medical science, you see, when people are training in medical science and when they become doctors, they come from their own belief systems. Okay, and once they train through the medical science, they have a different aspect of looking at the science that they're learning. They look at it from their perspective.
Fantastic. Let's talk about medicine right now, then, if you don't mind. So, the most important question of all questions I've had so far: can you reduce diabetes by fasting?
No.
Reverse diabetes.
It depends. Sorry, please repeat that again.
Can you reverse diabetes by fasting?
Okay. Again, we need specifics in terms of what they mean by reverse diabetes. If they mean completely curing diabetes, which means after Ramadan, they can go out, eat what they want. They don't need to take any medications anymore, don't need to take insulin anymore. If they mean that sort of a cure from diabetes, then the answer is no, unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills it. That's not going to happen. But if they mean a reduction in what we class as HbA1c levels, which is what gives you a snapshot of sugar control over the last 3 months. If they are looking to reduce, and that's what actually it gives us an indication of how well a person's diabetes is controlled over the last 3 months. And that's one of the main indicators we use to modify treatment. So if they are looking to reduce that to below a certain threshold, then Ramadan can facilitate that, depending on how they program the Ramadan and how they manage their suhoors, the iftars. And yes, that can happen, but it can't. I've not really come across where Ramadan can, post-Ramadan, diabetes has actually been cured.
Okay, that's interesting. So, in other words, in the medical science, you've not come up with a medication that can completely cure diabetes. Once you've got to that level, you'll just have to learn to manage it. That's for medical science. Is that correct? Dr. Imran?
That's correct, yeah.
Dr. Imran?
Yeah, I thought I had lost you there.
I'm here.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that is correct. In general, in the broad term, we say diabetes, then yes, this is what, there's no drug that can actually completely cure it. And, where people...
Okay, Dr. Imran's connection is very poor, so we keep on losing you, Dr. Imran. I know you're doing your best. We can't hear you.
I'm going to try and yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes. It's not the microphone. It's the reception.
All right. Okay.
The microphone is fine. It's the Wi-Fi connection.
It's the Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Wherever you are, your Wi-Fi is very poor. Are you in your surgery?
No, I'm not in my surgery. No, okay. I'm at home at present.
I was about to blame the NHS for the underfunding, and lack of resources, and the government. Okay, so let's move on to the next question then. Next question. Some people believe that they can do water fasting, which is they don't do anything else but just drink water for 5 days, 6 days, or even a week. And they claim this is a brilliant way of restarting your body, cleansing it from all your detoxing your body. Is it a better form of fasting than the conventional fasting that we do?
No, I wouldn't. From a medical perspective, purely from a medical perspective, I personally wouldn't recommend that. I don't think it's a healthy way of the healthiest way of fasting, really, because I think that there's a need for other nutrients as well, because the human body can't just completely rely on water. And what we need to remember is, if we're just feeding the body with water, then after a few days, the body stops utilizing the fat to release the energy for the body. The body starts breaking up the muscles, and there is muscle breakdown. There will be an increase in creatinine kinase. So once the muscle breakdown increases in the body, that puts an increased strain on the kidneys as well. So, which is not healthy, really, having byproducts of muscle breakdown circulating in the blood. So, although hydrotherapy is recognized as a good form of detox, not to this extent where people rely on water for six days or 7 days in a row.
So you wouldn't recommend it for people? You would not?
No.
Because you would have would it also cause any strain on a person's heart?
Not so much the heart directly, but indirectly, because it affects the kidney function. Because once the muscle protein elements, what we call as creatinine kinase, once that increases, it puts a strain on the kidney, and there could be end organ damage. Consequently, that could put a strain on the heart. So it's not the most, before having suhoor, before having iftar, just when they open the fast, if people want to have 2 glasses of water, 3 glasses of water, that's great. I mean, it's a great form of detox. It's a great form of appetite suppressant. It's pretty healthy and it's really good. But relying on water only for 6 to 7 fasts in a row is going to affect the muscle bulk as well.
Okay. Well, it could be a drastic way of losing weight.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
You could go from, 20 stones to 10 stones in no time.
Yes.
But of course, it's not a good thing.
No. It's not recommended because, you do need other nutrients as well.
Alhamdulillah. Dr. Imran has been a fantastic supporter of Abdullah Quilliam Mosque, a generous supporter of our mosque, mashallah. We're grateful to Dr. and his family and all our wonderful colleagues who are working and supporting us. But more importantly, we're very grateful for Dr. for his time, despite his very busy schedule, keeping us, keeping us, our people alive in the front line. May Allah bless them and give them long life, inshallah. Dr. Imran, we've run out of time because it's already 8 o'clock and I'm conscious that we have to go and get ready for iftar and do other things. Can I say thank you very much? And I'm looking forward to the day when I can come and see you in person.
Thank you, Brother Ajmal.
And don't forget, to give you support from all your friends very soon, because we want to buy that building and the council is on our back. So we'll come to see you very soon, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Jazakallah khair. Allah bless you. Take care.
Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Jazakallah khair. Dr. Imran, that's amazing. Thank you very much for being with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we have run out of time. It's already 8:01. I'm going to finish my program here and say goodbye to you and to everybody who's been watching. Please keep supporting Abdullah Quilliam Mosque. We are doing still fundraising for it. Go to the Launch Good website, launchgood.com/first mosque, and you will see the details appear there, inshallah. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.